Hello, guys. I am back with another episode. There is a message that I want to share with you guys, and the message reads like this. Hello, how are you? Can you please post for me and keep me anonymous? I am a lady who is aged 49, and I have also come with my story so that you can share with the rest of the world. But before I was single, I was once married. In this marriage that I was in, this man whom I later got married to, I was given to him at birth when I didn't know that I was being married off to this man. But I think that it was because my family was just a poor family. So when they sold me off to the family of this man, they wanted that man's family to take care of them. I didn't like him at first when I had grown up and when I was told that I could not fall in love with any boy in my own age group. I had to wait until that man has finally decided that he wanted to take me in as his wife. When he came into me to make me his wife, I didn't like him at all, but in the end I didn't have a choice. I just had to accept that this was what it was. It was my fate. I stayed with my husband and everything was going well. He loved me as old as he was. Yes, he loved me. We had been living together for about 5 years. Then one of my in-law came to our house and she told us that she was facing a situation and she was asking to live with us because they didn't have a home anymore. So my in-law needed a place to live. We then offered her a place to live. As a way of living, me and my husband, we used to brew this African traditional beer. That one that you use sorghums, then you brew the sorghums for about 7 days. After 7 days, you can sell that traditional beer. That is what me and my husband used to do. At that time, there was something that me and my husband had budgeted for the money that we were going to get after selling our traditional beer. And that was the same time that our in-law came to our house so that she can stay with us. So after selling our traditional beer, we then kept our money, like me and my husband. Then after about 3 or 4 days, there was this other woman who used to go around the village selling her dresses. She then entered into our compound. Me and my in-law, we were just sitting having a discussion. So we called that woman so that she can come into the compound so that she can show us the dresses that she was selling. As we were looking at everything that she was selling, then my in-law suggested that she wanted one of the dresses that she was holding. Then my in-law took me aside and asked me if I could borrow her the money so that she can buy the dress that she was holding in her hands. I really wanted to give her the money, but I knew that my in-law was not working anyway. If I give her the money that me and my husband had budgeted for, where was she going to get the money so that she can pay me back? But I didn't want any tensions to be there between my in-law and I, so I came up with a suggestion. I told her that the money that I had, my husband had already planned for that money and he was going to be angry if he found out that I had took out the money that we had budgeted for months and months, and we wanted to use that money for something that was so important to us. So I could not give her the money at that same time. But I told her that I had another option. When I was speaking with my in-law, I could clearly see that no matter how I was trying to tell her that in the end she was going to buy this dress, she just didn't believe me. So I gave her another option. I told my in-law that in the coming 2 or 3 weeks, we can try to sell this traditional beer again. Because the way that we used to sell this traditional beer back in our village was that we used to rotate amongst the people who were known to be brewing this traditional beer so that we can give each other the chance to sell. So we had to wait for other people who were also brewing this traditional beer to finish selling their product. Then we can start brewing again. I told you that once we do sell the traditional beer, you can buy this dress. And since this lady is from this village, we can speak with her and I can talk to her and give her the guarantee that once we brew beer again and sell it, then you can go and collect the dress. I told her that all that we have to do is that let us start now soaking the sorghum. After that, we can brew the beer and wait for our turn to sell the beer. And after that, I will give you the money so that you can go and collect the dress. But my in-law was so angry. She walked away from me and I saw that she was really angry. She just threw that dress on that woman's lap who was selling her dresses. Then she went into the kitchen and closed the door. Grief and sadness entered into my heart. Little did I know that everything that I had said and everything that had happened had planted the seeds of jealousy and hatred in my in-law's heart. There was this other day that I was just coming from somewhere. I was so hungry on that day. So I was walking towards my house. That is when I met this other woman. She was speaking with me, but I told her that I had to rush back home so that I can cook for my children that I had left back home. I knew that maybe since morning my children had not eaten anything. Whilst I was walking past her house, she called me in, and I was embarrassed, thinking that if I refused to enter into her house, maybe I'll be humiliating her, since me and her, we were like the best of friends. So I told myself that let me just go into her house and I'll sit with her for something like a minute or 2 minutes. Then I would rush back home. When I went into her house, she told me that I had to wait because she was already preparing tea. She said, let us sit down and let us talk whilst we are having a cup of tea. I refused because I kept on thinking about my children, but she kept on forcing me until I finally gave in. She poured me a cup of tea and she also told me that if I wanted, she can also pour tea into a flask and she'll give me food so that I can go and eat with my children. I accepted all the food that she had given me and I thanked her because I knew that now, at least when I got home, me and my kids, we can eat. I won't have to struggle like cooking from scratch. When I got back home, my in-law was there. She was just sitting, doing nothing, and she had not cooked for herself and she had not cooked for the children. Everyone was just crying and everyone was just hungry. So I took the food that my friend had given me, then I shared amongst my children, then we started eating. As me and my children we were eating, that is when my in-law spoke with me. It was like she was surprised that I had arrived back home in a hurry, and she was like, thank God you are here because your children were already complaining, saying that they were hungry. Are you not hungry, my in-law? I told her that I was hungry and that is the reason why I was eating with my children. She said then she had already prepared a certain fermented drink popularly known as amaheu in the southern part of Africa. She then poured amaheu in a glass and she offered me a drink. At that time, I was already full. I didn't want to eat anymore. I told her that on my way coming back home, I had sat down with my friend whilst we were having a cup of tea. And now I was actually eating bread and drinking with my kids. So I was okay. I told her that she can put the glass of amaheu aside. Then later on, I'll have a drink. I thanked her. At that time, she kept on forcing me to drink, but I refused. In the end, she gave up. But when I kept on refusing, it was as if I was embarrassing my in-law in front of my husband. So I stretched out my hand so as to accept that glass of amaheu so that I can just drink because I didn't want her to feel out of place. As I was stretching out my hand to receive that glass, then my husband, who was there with us sitting in the dining area, He then said, if you don't want to drink, at least give me so that I can finish up that glass of amaheu. You don't know how hungry I am. Here you are refusing this drink. But what surprised me is that when my husband was saying that instead of my in-law forcing me to have that glass of amaheu, instead that glass should be given to him so that at least he can quench his thirst. I was surprised that my in-law refused. She refused with such passion, but it was too late because my husband stood up from where he was sitting. Then he went to the place where there was a big jug that was full of this fermented drink. He then took that big jug. Then he started drinking amaheu from that big jug. As we were sitting, me, my husband, my children, and my in-law, that is when my husband started complaining, saying that he was feeling severe pain in his stomach. From there on, my husband's health gradually declined. Then he died from food poisoning. This is what I had to go through simply because I had not given my in-law money to buy the dress that she wanted. She then decided to pour poison into this fermented drink that she was going to offer to me. Unfortunately, my husband was the one who ended up drinking that poison that was mixed with amaheu. Unfortunately, when my husband had died from food poisoning, my in-law actually had the nerves to tell everyone that it was me who had poisoned her own husband because I was young and my husband was way older than me. So I knew that if my husband died, I was going to take possession of everything that he ever owned, like the cattle, the goats, and everything that we had on our homestead. This is my own confession that I have been keeping in my own heart. There are times whereby I just sit at night, then I think about everything that happened in my life. Sometimes I do thank God for rescuing me, because if I had drank that glass of amaheu that was mixed with poison, I was going to die, but God saved me. Even though God saved me, but it is painful because my husband had to die so that I can live. This is my own story. Please, you can share it with the rest of the world. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was forwarded to me by one of our admins. Please let us talk about this issue in the comment section. I'll be back with another episode.